Alright guys, so I'm going to kind of roll from the seat of my pants here, but I'm going to show you all that I can here in a short video. It's nothing too crazy. By no means am I some expert on this, guys. I use it and I get great results because the software does the work for me. And that's the beauty of it, is that it can really make you get a great sound with little effort or know-how. How I started to figure out or dive into what's what and what to pick is going to the UAD website and going to the store, and they break down in categories every single different software that they offer. The manuals are within inside of each of these links as well, and you can start to dive in. Each of the manuals is going to tell you about the history of the hardware that the plugin replicates, and what kind of artists and producers have used it over the years, and what made it famous, and why they have it in the first place. Anything that's in here, these are all legendary pieces of hardware that are in the super studios of the world that you can now have in your computer, which is amazing. Some of the, there's so many choices, and it's really about diving down into which ones are the most high priority for you off the get-go. I discovered what comes with what you got. They said that it is a plug-in bundle, the Analog Classic Pro plug-in bundle. So they're going to give you some very nice compressors that are legendary, the 1176s, and they're going to give you the Pultec EQ, which is actually one of my favorites. And I'm glad I'm glad they include it, because it can be $300 on its own. Here's the Pultec right here that comes included in your package. So that's a real nice one. You're going to have to decide between delays and modulations and reverbs, sound effects, stuff that makes things echo out, and flangers and doublers. Between that and then stuff that that polishes and shapes your sound, and that's things like that we talked about. The Manley Massive Passive is an incredible equalizer. This thing costs $5,000 in real life. Classic reverb. These again, you got your reverbs, delays, and modulations, and then you got EQs, compressors, and like warmth, tube warmth. For instance, a tape recorder. A lot of classic bands that have that retro sound, or Led Zeppelin tone to them. They want to record through tape recorders, like legit style, and these things are expensive and they break down and they're a big pain in the butt, but you can still get that sound by using these plugins. For me, that's not super desirable. I like a real modernized electronic type sound, but these do really can really warm up and add a lot of characteristic to something that sounds dull, or give it that old-timey sound. So you're going to have to experiment with some of these, and a lot of it's going to come from reading. You should be typing in, Googling different, find artists that which you're going to find a lot of your heroes do use this. You want to find the artists that that do use this stuff and find out what their favorite things are. And that way you can kind of follow the path of the people getting the sound that you want. I think one of the more critical things that you guys are going to be up for is, one, you want to be able to have a nice master of your music, which if you go down to the bottom here at the bundles, there is a precision mastering bundle. I would highly suggest this, guys, for the final product of your music. Even if you didn't have anything else in here, this would be able to get you that final result that you want. And I'm going to show you how to use that. And then, from there, it's going to be just, you get some EQs, and you get some, maybe a channel strip. There's 3 channel strips within here, and those are like when we talk about the, Dr. Dre sitting behind his console. These are just one channel of one of those huge boards that everybody's sitting between. You got the API, SSL, and Neve. These have been around for years and years and years, and these are the most popular sounds that have shaped the music of our times, since the Beatles, whatever, last 40 years. Personally, I've found that the API is the most dramatic and the most worthwhile to throw on stuff. Now remember, just putting these plugins on your music is literally going to have a change in the characteristic. Here it is up live. Now what you're getting is you got your mic pre, which alone, just by having your mic run through this, is giving a life to your sound that you would otherwise not have. You go from just plugging into a preamp to plugging into a ridiculously expensive and high quality one. So even if you turn none of these knobs and just run this thing dry, you're going to get a sound from this API, from the SSL, from the Neve. It's going to take some research to decide which one's your favorite. I don't really think you're going to want all 3, so it's not a terrible idea to run all 3 in demo mode and experiment and pick the one you like the most. to figure these things out, every one of them have a manual button in the right. The cool thing about all these plugins is they're all the same. In the left, you have your preset window, and the right, you have your manual. If you just simply open up the load preset menu, you can hear some famous producers that would be worth researching about what kind of music they do and everything. Pokey snare, you want your snare to stick out. Snare basic, just a nice snare. A piano squash, electric guitar, aggressive kick. Basically, you just find the one that kind of matches up to what you're looking to do and see what kind of result you get. Then you can always, if we say we loaded up radio keys, we can see how the knobs are twisted. And as we start to understand what each one of these do by reading through the manual, we can start to see and kind of reverse engineer the work that they've done by twisting these knobs a certain way to understand how we can do it ourselves or tweak it to customize it the way we want. Again, this one I found to be the most pleasant to my ear. I don't think this is a critical thing, but that's, again, I don't say do a ton of recording. I think for you guys, this might be more of an industry standard to have in your arsenal there. So one of the three consoles, I would say, is something you should experiment with and decide if you want to get. I think you'll find dramatic and really cool results. So API, SSL, Neve, that would be a mission to choose from. A definite automatic one you're going to want to get is a Precision Mastering Bundle, which is going to give you all three of these. It's going to give you a stereo expansion to make your song sound bigger and more wide and huge. You're going to have the multi-band plugin that's going to affect the high, mids, and lows separately and fatten it up. And then finally the limiter, which is going to give you that overall volume. So these, all three are going to come in this mastering bundle, and that's definitely the better deal. Love this tape echo, love this space echo, love this time delay. They're all three amazing, but again, you're kind of splurging when you have stuff like this. I know you guys have delays, I know you guys have echoes and reverb, so this will be when you're feeling like buying something new. They're gonna send you promotional coupons, and that's the way to get everything. Is you don't just go in there and hit buy on everything. They're going to, over time, try to gain your business by offering you deals, half off and whatever, buy 3, get 2 free and stuff like that. So wait for those deals and utilize them when they come through, and that's the most effective way to buy the most stuff with the least amount of money. Okay, so you already got the Pultec EQ. This one is great, and they talk about a curve where this is really good at giving you some bass and giving you some highs and scooping the mid-range out in just the right place so that it doesn't mix in with all the other mid-range instruments. Like say you threw it on your kick drum, gives you a nice fat kick, gives you a nice top-end crunch, but it doesn't swim in the middle where all your other instruments are to make it sound muddy. So it's just a nice EQ curve. It was designed by a guy named Pultec. So cool history, cool to read about. Again, you load it up, load a preset, find out what it does. I think I threw the Pultec on the kick in this instance. If we open it up, there she lives. Real simple looking, but turning these knobs is a science and can get you amazing and dramatic results. I simply load preset, dig around in there and find something. Oh, vocal lift. Perfect. Right now I'm on a kick drum, so I'm going to look for a kick drum type ideal. I think I found one a minute ago. I might just float around in here. Guitar warmer. That can always be useful. Here we go. Automatic kick. Must be a great preset. Boom. Throw it on and rock and roll. Of course, you can, usually designed within each one, there's always an on-off mechanism. It might be here. Turn it off, turn it on. That way you can preview. This might be a quick shot too. A way to just go back and forth and bypass and listen to what you've done. As you go loading on these presets, you're going to note that you have a DSP bar. I only have a dual core, so you're going to be able to have double the amount of stuff I have. But as you fill this bar up, you're going to have to convert things to audio to be able to continue to add more plugins. That's why you have the quad, and it's a beautiful thing. You're not going to have to deal with that near as much as I do. So, choices. That's the big thing, is what do we pick and how do we use them? Well, it's not too crazy. Again, you go through here. I've made a list that I'm going to provide for you that I just took off. I just went through the website and made it myself. It simply just breaks down. Here's the mastering plugins. Here's the special processing. I put some little notes in there. Fine-tune enhancement of bass, bass enhancer, SPL transient designer is really crazy for your snares. Special processing is probably going to be less of what you guys are diving into. Delay modulation, again, not the top priority when it comes to shaping and getting you a great sound. Things that you're going to be looking more at is the glue compression, individual track compression, distinct compressors, one that have a tone to them, a life. Tube warmth. These are all things that recording artists usually prefer. Personally, I think the EQs are the most useful right off the get go because they're just really easy to hear. Compression is always something that's a subtle thing, that it's like there's a fattening there, and it's hard to tell whether you've squished it or not too much. You'll get results that you're gonna like that are pleasing to your ear, but it's definitely a little bit easier to comprehend what's happening to your tone with these EQs. My favorite, you have the Pultec already. The Millenia is awesome, mainly because not only do you get EQ, but you also get tube warmth in one. So it's kind of a nice a bundle there where you're getting both sides. I threw that on my snare in this case. If I open that up, it looks like so. You're going to have a tube warmth within there along with the EQ. This thing looks intimidating, right? I don't turn a single one of these knobs, to be honest. I straight up go to the presets and snare tube. It's on a snare. It sounds awesome. You say you have an entire drum bus with your hats and your kick and everything. Almost every song now that I'm addicted to it, is I love to throw room drums, jet or tube, onto my drum bus, and it just always makes it sound fat and awesome. Hi-hat sweetener. Who doesn't want to sweeten their hi-hat? Synth bass booster. Just because it says synth bass doesn't mean you wouldn't want to put it on your acoustic bass or whatever. Male vocals, female vocals. Just because it says female vocals doesn't mean you want to try it out. But I would just go through these presets and maybe twist the knob a little bit to see if I would get a little bit different result. But generally, I choose one of these and I'm very happy with it. And that's the beauty of it. It'll make it sound just like you want it to. It's like magic, honestly. Hi-hats. Manley Massive Passive. This is great on so many things, but I generally find I put it on my hats and my percussion to make it pop out and come alive. My favorite preset is the live sound. Instrument live sound. There's so many good ones, lead guitar. This thing's just super intensive. It'll take up a lot of your DSP. Less for you. I can only run 2 of them. You'll be able to run 4 of them at the same time. But generally, I use it for this live sound preset because it just opens it up and makes it sound alive. But I mean, some of these will have some super dramatic results. Be careful when you just clarity's great. It tells you bus for when you want to put it on a general bus of strings, or maybe it's an individual instrument. Vocals down here. Be careful with things that say deep and bass, and as in turn down your speakers a little bit, because sometimes this stuff will be dramatic, and it can bust your stuff. So don't be too willy-nilly when you hit those presets without turning down your volume a little bit. Sometimes if you think it could be a big boost, which you'll find. Peak bass boost that's going to crank. Live sound, excellent preset. Again, hardly touch these knobs. I'm a tool, man. And you just use these. The beauty is, use these plugins. You don't really have to think about it. You can concentrate on being a musician, and that's why you pay all that money for it. So, if we were to, another nice one is that you guys may enjoy. Again, you guys have a lot of amplifiers and things, I'm sure, but these plugins, for me that doesn't have an amp, I'm not a connoisseur of the bass or guitar tone, but I find that these are very good. I really enjoy these bass amps. There's a lot of cool presets within there where you're choosing your different cab styles. You can straight up, move your move your microphone around, change what part of the speaker it's at. You can really do a lot of, real stuff that's you would normally do in real life with microphones and everything. So pretty neat. There is a bundle for that stuff too. The bundle section down here. Yeah, the soft tube amp room bundle. You're going to get different bass cabs, different guitar cabs. I find it pretty awesome. The Ingle system is really nice too. As far as virtual guitar, I don't think you guys are really going to require that with all the stuff you already have, but it is cool. I will say that. So, primary goal. We need you guys to get the mastering suite so that you can master your music right here. So, mastering bundle. And then I would feel like you would really have a one-stop shop, most for your money, by getting one of the 3 channel strips, which is going to be the API SSL Neve. I would demo all 3 and do some internet research on different bands you like that may already use that stuff. you may desire one of these tape recorders. They're both, one of them is more designed for mastering, one of them is more designed for the mix. Struder for the mix, Ampex for the mastering. Again, it's so you throw it on the master track, it adds a little bit of tape warmth. It sounds like you're running on tape, but there's a certain fatness and life that you can't get otherwise. So yeah, we're talking mastering bundle. I think that the Manley Massive Passive is a killer EQ and worth it. So Manley Massive Passive, a channel strip, which is now around 3 things, and then really, I mean, with plus what it comes with, that is a strong start. I mean, granted, that's almost $1,000 right there, so if not 1,000, so that's no joke, you know. And even though there's so many choices in here, by God, it doesn't mean you need them all. You know, I have all these to play with, and it's fun, but I still just go back to the same ones almost every time because it's so nice. On top of the Manley Massive Passive, I might suggest the Millenia EQ. I think that lives in here. Again, it's both tube warmth and an EQ. It sounds very nice. So the Millenia EQ, the Manley Massive Passive, and I'm a sucker for these EQs because I like having different ones, because if you use multiple EQs, you're getting a more versatile mix. There's more effects to shape your sound, and things don't start to sound the same. But the Manley, the Millenia, and I do really like this Maag EQ. It's designed for the top end EQing. They call it like the air of the track. And I definitely throw this on my bass a lot. It's very nice. It has a sound to it that I've never really heard before. It always kind of, yeah, brings your track to life. So the Maag EQ, you know, there's what it looks like in real life inside of a console. Maag EQ, Millenia EQ, Manley Massive Passive, one of the 3 channel strips, and the mastering plugin. Again, I've kind of broken it down here. I'm going to include this with the video email, and you can go that way. I'll put a quick shot down here of the ones that we're talking about are critical. You know, as far as how, you know, I think you guys have figured out by now, you have a UAD meter here, and then you can go to your plugin listing, and it shows you everything that you have. It's going to show you what's already authorized. Every single one of these are already installed on your computer. The moment you hit demo, it means that it's time to check it out. You got 2 weeks to check it out. Typically, it gives you your timeline, and from there, you play with that thing as much as possible. You know, you reauthorize. It's pretty straightforward. They give you breakdowns on how to go about all this, but you know, I think you guys have got that under control. But here's your entire listing. The only thing that's kind of a nuisance about this, if you know, is that they also, it's nice to have them already all installed, but I think when you go to your plugin listing, even if you don't use them all, you still have to look at them all, which is kind of a nuisance that you have to kind of drag around through stuff you don't have, but that's kind of the gist of it. I think that's a way for them to continue to poke at you to try to buy the thing, you know. But yeah, the reverbs and delays and EQs, by God, those are amazing. But I mean, money can get dropped quick, and I think it's a little bit of redundancy to what you already have, even though it is a whole step up on the quality of those effects. But that's when you're kind of working on the studio album more so than the live album, like what you're going to go sound like live. Because unless you're using these UAD plugins like the reverbs and delays in a live atmosphere, you're going to sound you know, better and different on your recording than maybe you would live. So it's you know, it's something to consider as far as those delays and reverbs. Again, there's something you splurge on as the money comes about, and you're like, man, I really want to play with that. Play with them in demo mode, you know, fall in love, and then pick the ones you like the best. The final thing that it's time to do is to show you how to use. First, you know, I want to show you how to use those 1176 ones that come already with your interface, because you have some very famous compressors. You know, compressors are tricky. I think, you know, just like when we did it in the store the other day, you kind of get the gist. It's just about pumping it into it accurately. So you have the Analog Classic Pro Bundle, $700 value that comes with that thing. You got the Pultec series, and then we have these guys here. These are compressors, or levelers they call, so kind of like a limiter in a sense. Pultec and our the LA76s. These are super super famous. So let me try to find one right now. Each one of these, you'll read that one's like a legacy. They literally have 3 versions for the 3 versions that exist in the world. As you go throughout time, they've made version 1, generation 2, generation 3. And if you really want to sound like from the 60s, you can grab that version. If you want kind of the 80s style, then you would grab that one. So you do read through the manual and they explain why there's 3 different types and what are the main differences. So the idea is that you're limiting your music in a way that's transparent, you know, and clean. I don't have much plug-in room left now with all these demonstrative ideas up here. Let me just kill one of these. I'll get rid of this guy. Okay, let me find the 1176 real quick. Here's a Teltronics. You guys have one of these. Throw that up on here. So, you know, I'm going to throw this on the master track. And this is probably going to sound like crap through my internal mic here, but I'm going to hit play on this drum set. Okay, so we can see him pumping through there. It's all about the input gain and then the peak reduction. So the peak reduction is literally how much it is affecting the sound, and that's what's going on right here. This is the gain reduction. Right now, nothing's happening. Every time it pumps through here, it's going to reduce it by about this amount. Again, let's go find a preset and kind of get our feet wet where to start here. Husky male drum room. That's exactly what we got going on, is a room of drums. So we select that. You can see it's really beefed it up. It's really cranking it up. They say that you want to usually kiss the music. You never want to just like crank it to maximum typically. Certainly there's some sounds you can get that way, but if we reduce the amount of gain going into the compressor, we should be able to, this might be post. Reduce the reduction. Alright, so basically we just got it in this neighborhood. Turn it off very quickly. But notice that we're just trying to make it sit in the neighborhood of 0 here, not necessarily being all the way over to the left. Again, this is a super subtle thing. And you're really gonna have to nitpick. But sometimes just throwing it on your track and running it even at nothing, even just like right at the barely touching it, is adding a characteristic and a life that makes your track just sound a little less dull, a little bit more professional, a little bit more polished. It just kind of keeps things under control. That's what I use these compressors and things for. If we were to go to like the 1176, if I can find that thing. No idea where it lives. There we go, 1176. We'll throw that on the master. Same concept. This one's a little bit more easy to comprehend for me. It's straight up. You have the ratios on the side. You have the gain reduction over here, and you're choosing what you're looking at. You can, as far as in the meter, meter. I could say gain reduction. That's what I want to look at. The amount that's going down. Hit play. This is pretty heavy duty. All I got to do is just drop the input volume a little bit, and we'll come up. Let's bring it to 0. It does nothing. Maybe the attack would be how fast it hits. Basically, if you turn down if it ends up getting quieter because you're limiting it, you can always turn it up after the fact. Again, something to play with. These are definitely a science to them. Read the manual, learn the ins and outs. There's only like 5 buttons on here. And once you get the hang of it, it's a subtle thing, but you let your ear, a lot of it is just letting your ears decide. Remember that the guys that, with the actual hardware in front of them, they don't have any preset. There's only 5 knobs, and you gotta let your ear decide. So if you can just get the general gist of what each button and knob does on a particular plugin, then you can really just dial in and listen to what sounds good and what makes you feel like that's a good decision. And that's why you have those Atom speakers, so that what you hear is accurate and you can make confident decisions. But now, the important part that I think that you guys are going to want to know is the mastering. It's for me, I make a chain like so. That mastering bundle had the stereo plugin, the multiband dynamic, and the limiter. Okay, so I run them in a row just like that. First, multiband dynamics, and this is your choice. You can run the stereo preset after or before the limiter. I prefer to run it before. So basically, you got the multiband fattener, you got the stereo spread, and then you have your limiter. These are the key elements here. I also, throw my personal self, use Ozone still because I'm just familiar with it to do my sideband EQing, which we were doing in the store the other day. We go to the EQ section and we EQ out just the side. We did that in the store. And then it has a little bit of harmonic excitement in there. I still enjoy using a little bit more stereo imaging on top of the one in there. So, I still throw that in the mix. But yeah, basically, we hit play. When we activate the plugin, it's going to get significantly louder. So, the first thing we start out with is the multiband dynamic. Simply, all we're doing is just making sure that we're pumping into this thing in a nice way. If I were to go to my preset, load one up, I usually choose default all around, but if we were to go down in here and look around, that's usually the one I like, honestly. There is presets in here that, like, maybe you want to use it on individual things, effects or bass or noise, that kind of deal. Maybe you just want a very gentle version of it. They have different individual utilities here. I choose the default all around, and I just make sure that you just click on each one of these bandwidths to have control over it over here in this panel. You have you start at 0 and you see your gain reduction happening over here. Hit play. Right now, we're not affecting the kick at all. So if I lower the threshold, notice that as I bring this down, it starts to affect it more and more dramatically. We wouldn't want to bring it down so much that it's going to drop. You can see the amount of reduction over here on the kick. We don't want too much. So maybe I'll just bring it to something like that, to where it's just, touching it every time. Right now we're having no effect on the rest of the frequency bands. Hit that guy, drop the threshold a little bit, and you can start to see a little bit of life going to there. Obviously, every song, everything you throw this on is going to be a little bit different than the next one. Go to the yellow, give a little bit of talk there. Not a ton of high end going on. You saw how that just crushed that down. Usually on the top end, you want a lot less than on the low. You just want to barely be kissing this top end. So that's really all. I really just mess with the threshold. Certainly you can mess around and get your release a little bit different, your ratio. But I just use this to get a general fatness going on, and I usually don't think too much about it. I just kind of gently pump it into it and move on, and I get very good results that way. Next on the stereo preset, it's the same thing. I just have my ears poked up like an elf, and I'm just listening as hard as I can for what's going to get me what I want. They have a whole section in here for mixing as well as mastering, and usually you choose like rock tight drums, boom, you're straight. Full orchestra, clear presence. These are ones I usually go to, clear presence, and it just makes it kind of open up a little bit. Boom, that's really all there is to it. On the limiter, this is the one you got to be a little careful with, and I think we were looking at this in the store last time, is you open up your master channel, and you can visually see if you're pumping it too hard. We hit play here. The moment you hit play, it shows you the amount of gain reduction happening right here. You never want this number to be too far over 6. And you just, again, you kind of look to the moment here. You have an on-off to quickly go back and forth. But this is what's getting you that overall volume that comes with the master. So hit play. You have your input volume here, and you can simply bring your input volume down to lower this number, or bring it up to raise that number. This is where you look over here. When you got a full-blown track, you're going to be able to see it a lot easier. Let me throw in this guitar here. You can see that the kick is kind of dragging it up top here. We're well above 6, so we need to drop that down. And maybe I'll restart it to re-engage this. Still up there pretty high, so I drop it down a little bit. Now we're under 6. Starting to see some life over here. Drop it down a little bit more.
turn it off, we drop a lot of headroom over here, a lot of consistency. We turn it on, and we're right to where we need to be. Sounds super clean. So we got our fattening, we got our stereo imaging, and then we have our limiting, which is the overall mastering process. Super easy, you know, 3 plugins, barely pumping it in, choosing a few presets, and you have a very professional sound. People will pay you to do that to their music because they don't have those tools and they wouldn't know how to throw that in the correct order. You know, it's just a little bit of research, a little bit of reading, and you're going to get professional results. That's why it costs so much money, is because you're having professionals sitting there in your studio. Okay, so get a channel strip, get a couple EQs, get the mastering bundle, and honestly, that alone is worth your investment. And as you go along, you know, play with the, you know, maybe a particular song. Once you put something in demo mode and use it, you know, if you know the demo mode's going to run out, you're not going to keep it, but you like the effect you achieve for that one song, all you got to do is just convert it to audio, and you're going to have the benefit of that effect saved in your track. You know, of course, once the demo ran out, if you just had the plug-in version up, it's going to go away. Yeah, this is interesting. The Ocean Way Studio gives you $250,000 worth of vintage mics to choose from, you know, to re-emulate. Amazing, you know. So it's just going to be a matter of trial and error, reading around. Honestly, I did a lot of research to see what other people like to use. But yeah, I think that's going to get you guys off the gates and running. You know, as you can see, it's nothing too crazy. You're just opening up plugins that you like, and you're going to load a preset and find what you like inside. They have different utilities, and you just throw it on based on what you want. So yeah, I'll send you the listing of that. I've kind of broken it down in my own words and put little notes next to the ones that count. I'm going to write down exactly which ones I think you guys should get. And from there, it's just going to be experimenting. So just hit me up with any questions if you do have any, and I'll do my best to answer them. All right, guys, have fun.